What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Movie Talks, the only podcast you need for all your movie news, movie reviews, and more. I'm glad that after 32 episodes, I've only ever said the name wrong once, and that was last week.
I did notice. Yeah.
Yeah. I just kept pushing on, and then I heard it back, and I was like, "Ooh, I got the name and the show wrong." I called it
Mhm.
Movie News,
I
but
didn't notice at the time either, but when I listened
yeah.
to it during the week, I went, oh, whoops.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh well.
But we got a star-studded lineup for you. It is an action-packed lineup. So we
hmm
have D&D Among Thieves, the brand new
Honor
D&D,
among thieves.
whatever, it's Among Thieves.
Stop
Doesn't
saying
matter.
whatever. Names matter.
People know what we're talking about. And we are coming off the back of obviously our other podcast, which is You Nerd It Here First. So I did get that right as well. And Lawson bit hard a couple of times. So we're in for a good show. We have John Wick Chapter 4. So I'll tell you about my slog throughout the week to be able to get into John Wick. And then we've got probably the most excited film I'm excited to talk about. That was not a good sentence. I'll start again. The Guns of Eden is probably the most excited I've been to talk about a film in quite some time, and it's something. So stay tuned for
Something.
that. It's something.
Yeah.
But the crowd pleaser and what most people are always here for, there is the one, the only, the most spectacular rule set that is followed every single week. It is movie news.
I'm really sorry, but I think you missed anything you mentioned John Wick.
I think I did, didn't I?
Did you?
Yeah, yeah. I said
Am I just that?
I'll tell you the slog that I had to go through during the week
Oh,
to
with
get
John Wick,
into
you
John Wick.
did. Oh my God.
Thank
Why am
you.
I so
See,
out of it?
see.
Then I am extra sorry because I'm
Mm,
not even right.
that's right. I'm always right. Yeah,
Always.
always.
hmm
But movie news, something that you're very excited for, I'm not excited for, and you're going to pick it for movie talks is Scott Pilgrim animated series is it is
Oh,
confirmed Edgar Wright is doing
hmm
it.
He's producing it. Yep.
Yeah, look,
Amazing.
I'm glad Edgar Wright is doing it, but I
Yeah.
I don't like Scott Pilgrim. I don't understand the attraction to it. I
Oh, it's
don't
so good.
I don't like the actor. Like I I think he's probably a very nice guy, but I just don't like his comedy style. I didn't like
Okay.
him in Arrested Development. I thought Arrested Development was carried by not the father and son duo. Like I struggled with both of them. Like what's his
Mm,
name in that? Like
I
what
can't remember. I've
yeah,
seen heaps of it.
but his comedy style I don't like either. Like I don't think he's that funny. Like he's
So you
just
don't like him in? So I know you like the movie, but do you like him in Superbad?
I like Jonah Hill in Superbad. I didn't think
Right, that's it.
he was that funny. Like I thought Jonah Hill's character was hysterical. Like
hmm
I had a great time where his character was it's the same. Like he gets a couple of laughs here and there, but overall you could put anyone else in there and I would have been probably just as happy, even if you had
Okay.
a character that didn't say anything. So I tried to watch Scott Pilgrim a number of times because you kept recommending it. And I started 3 or 4 times and I got probably 10, then 15, and then 20 minutes in.
Oh,
And it's I struggled
it
hard
gets
to
better and better though, I think.
mm, mm,
Like I mean when I first watched it and I watched the first like fight sequence, I'm like, what the fuck is even happening? This movie is so bizarre. Like I did not expect it to have this full martial arts fighting scene and like a dance and a song, and it's so fucking weird. But that's kind of why I love it.
no,
It's like it's just I don't think there's much else out there that is done in the same way. It's great.
no. We're gonna
I'm pumped as for this. I'm so excited. I looked at like the cast list I sent you. I sat there looking at it for ages and like went through. I instantly started picturing the because it is gonna be an anime, so I'm hoping they do not just a cartoon. I hope it's like looks like an anime. Um, damn, I'm so excited. It's all the original cast, pretty much.
okay.
It's like it's everyone.
That's
It's
it.
it's
Like, can I get a new lead? And then I might be in it.
no. Why would you replace him and no one else? Even
Because
Chris Evans, like after all this time of his success in Marvel and stuff, he's still. he's still coming back to do his very minor role.
I
I love
like
it.
Chris. I
I'm
like
so
Chris
excited.
Evans. He's
I know you do.
he's good.
Yeah,
Um,
he's in Scott Pilgrim.
yeah,
Go watch
but
it.
I have seen it. I've it took me 8 or 9 tries, but I have seen it.
Oh, you did watch it all the way through.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right. I thought you said you never made it.
Nah, but it took me a long time, but I did get there.
Oh, it's so good.
That's not
Anyway, moving on.
Evil Dead Rise director Lee Hornin to make a new horror thriller called Thor. I have no idea, but
Called Thor.
Thor, THAW, Thor,
Oh,
Thor.
right. I was picturing
Yeah,
THOR.
no. So
Thor.
I'm gonna hold my judgment on this based off how good Evil Dead Rise is. Like I'm trying to keep my hype settled and not come into it overhyped because I'm very excited for it. The mother looks sick in terms of how the
Mm-hmm.
Deadites are coming back. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
they've captured the over the top horror gore of the original Evil Dead. So I'm excited for it, and we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know how it goes without like Bruce Campbell, where Bruce Campbell he really made those films. Like
Yes, he made those films into the comedy aspect for sure.
yeah. So I guess
But
we'll
I think
see.
that they're trying to go away from that at this point. It looks more
Yeah.
like a horror, like straight horror.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. So
Hmm.
excited for that. That comes out pretty soon, I believe. I think it's end of
Yeah,
April
this
that it
month.
comes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
It's out. I'm down. Yeah.
Yep. And Marvel's Thunderbolts, Lee Sung Jin to rewrite the script. That's concerning that they have to rewrite the script. But
I don't know what any of this means.
Thunderbolts is another Marvel Phase 5 that's coming out. So
Sure.
I know you're not part of the whole the whole part.
At this point, there's so much happening. I literally have no context anymore.
Okay. The Spider-Verse team is producing a short film called The Spider Within. So if it's anything like the production quality of the the first Spider-Man, what was it?
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse, it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be good. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
yeah.
hoping the second film lives up to the hype as well.
It has to. Hey, they got like they've what's how to put this? Like they've set a pretty high standard, I guess, from the first
Yeah,
one.
it's very hard. People are going to come in too hyped for it though, and then be
Mm-hmm.
upset. Like
It's always dangerous
it's gonna happen. So I guess we'll wait and
unless they make
see.
it unless it's incredible. I mean, benefit of the doubt, right? They've already
Yeah.
made one really good. So I've watched it, but from what I hear, everyone who has watched it loves it.
Okay. Were you a fan of Up? I didn't like Up. I thought the intro was
Yeah,
incredible, and then
yeah, fair.
I lost interest in it very quickly.
I like it.
Okay.
I don't. I think it's probably, in my eyes, the last good Disney Pixar.
Okay. Well, it's got a sequel short, so there's going to be a little short for Up. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, they're pumping out shorts at the moment on Disney
Yeah.
Plus.
So, okay. See the all new short film with Elemental. So when Elemental comes out, there's going to have a Carl's Date, which is only in theaters June 16. So this will be played before
Okay,
Elemental.
that's cute.
Where Inside Out, I thought it was overhyped. I didn't think it was as good as people
Hmm.
made out. Like it was okay. It had some cool aspects, but
There's
I
so
don't know.
many plot holes and shit though. Like anyone with half a brain, like you start picking apart that movie so quick. It's so
Yeah.
shit.
So
But it's still good. Like I still enjoyed it, and I've watched it more than once, so that it says something. But it's like they don't. I feel like they get to a point with kids' movies where they don't respect intelligence anymore, and they're just like, well, here's some colors on a screen.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna go on a rant here if I yeah, just getting
Yeah.
the end. Move.
Asteroid City trailer brings Tom Hanks and an alien contact to the Wes Anderson verse. So it could
Oh really?
that'd be quite interesting.
I
So
haven't heard anything about this.
no, it's the first I've heard about it as well. So
What do you call it? Asteroid City.
Asteroid City. Yep.
Yeah, right.
So
Margot Robbie, Maya Hawke,
yep.
Scarlett Johansson. This is a Like Edward Norton, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, big
Quite a
lineup in it
list.
for an Alien Contact one.
June 16th. Okay, the trailer came out 3 days ago. I guess I've missed it. I will watch that later.
So yeah, could be quite a thing.
Mm.
Who who knows? Wes Anderson's got a reasonable lineup as well.
Oh yeah,
Like
he's fantastic. I mean, Grand Budapest Hotel, I'd say is my top 10 favorite movies.
yeah,
Mm.
that's a very good film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
So Isles of the
I mean, all his films
Dogs.
look the same. Sorry, there's a Saturday Night
Mm,
Live skit that's like poking fun at Wes Anderson films and how they all look the same. And
okay,
I can't not think of that skit when I watch Wes Anderson, but I still like his movies.
right.
People like because of that, or because of that, like the same people like, oh, not that interesting, and he does the same thing every time, and it loses impact. But I think he's anyway. I think he's fantastic. I like him a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we'll see. But that is it for movie news. We're all up to date and a couple of things to get excited for and
Mm-hmm.
get around. But I think you need the honor for the old D&D. You brought us a number of us into the old D&D world. Our friend
Yeah.
old Grads, and he loves the
Mm-hmm.
shout out. So he is a massive nerd. Like I'm not gonna beat around the bush. He's a nerd.
Yeah.
He yeah, he loves it. He can recite pretty much the entire 5e volumes to you. That Warhammer, pretty much everything you could sort of deem to be in the nerdy realm.
Yeah.
He's
Magic the
got
Gathering.
yeah, he's got the knowledge, and he's like one of those people that you go to if you're like, hey, what's this rule? And he's like a walking encyclopedia of all things
Mm.
nerdy. I've only ever seen I've known him for like what 11, 12 years now, and I've only ever seen him run like 3 times. He like he likes to sit. He's a nerd.
there's a there's a direct opposite correlation between nerdism and running.
Yeah.
So yeah, the least running, the more nerd. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So there you go. Take that, grads. Take us all away.
Sure.
Yeah. Take us away.
So D&D hat, honor among thieves. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. Like, yeah, it's sort of written like every D&D campaign ever. It's very like, go here and get the MacGuffin.
Yep.
It's yeah, I went and actually watched this in the movies. It's not often I do that, but I did because I wanted to see it like properly.
We
And
watch all our movies at the movies, mate.
oh yeah, true.
Yep.
My bad. I don't torrent anything.
Shh.
I don't. I said I don't. So yeah, this is like going into this. I had a lot of apprehension because I have this disdain, I guess, of all like modern action movies, action adventure movies, because everything feels like Marvel right now. And I guess my fear initially when I, heard this was being announced and whatever, is it's just going to feel like another Marvel film set in the world of Faerun, and all I'm going to get out of it is like references and references. But I had a great time. Uh, as a D&D nerd, there is so much to like in this, and there's so many like I'll say right now, and this is probably one thing I'll repeat as we go through, but this felt like a D&D campaign with your friends. A lot of the character decisions feel like player decisions. A lot of the way that the characters interact feel like players interacting. Like it feels very meta. I think if you don't like D&D or you didn't play D&D, this might feel weird at moments. Like I got straight into one character, I guess. That's like a side character, but the he was like a paladin. I forget anyone's names in this. I think his name was Zenk. Behind me, he's this guy. Uh, he his character is like this goody two shoes paladin who used to be part of the Red Wizard Army, and he's so over the top and ridiculous. But like that's how anyone who plays paladins plays their character. So that's just like one little example of how this felt more like players than characters. And I think that if you didn't like D&D, you might find that weird. But I've probably talked enough already about that. I had a really good time. Ryman.
Yeah. So I remember seeing like an early attempt. It was like probably late 90s, early 2000s, and there was a D&D movie.
Of course.
And it was trash. Like it was hard to watch. Even as a kid, like just watching mindless, just randomness. Like it wasn't good. So throughout the movie, it's about the main guy who is Chris Pine, and I'm going to butcher his name, Edgin. Is that how you say his
Edgin,
name?
yeah.
Edgin.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah. So he is the main guy, and he's the catalyst to where everything's going. He loses his wife, and his daughter as well gets taken in by his best friend, which is Hugh Grant, where Hugh Grant is currently making a big comeback on the scene. So
Yeah.
he was
very different to what he normally does.
yeah, which is good. I quite like it. I like him as a baddie. He's doing well in terms of being
Yeah.
a like charismatic but also slimy, two-facey kind of villain.
Yeah.
And I'm
How good was he last week in Operation Fortune? And again, yeah, 100%. I'm loving him.
same character, similar,
Similar.
very similar character, but done really well. So
And almost in the opposite way, because in Operation Fortune, he's a bad guy who then becomes a good guy, where in this, he's a good guy who then becomes a bad guy.
Yeah.
Still very like slimy and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chris Pine loses his wife. His daughter is taken in by Hugh Grant, and then he's essentially trying to get this magic item, which I forget exactly what the item is, but it's able to bring back one person. And his whole
Tablet
quest,
of Resurrection.
that's the one, and he's attempting to bring back his wife because they're on a job and they got it was betrayed, wasn't it? They got betrayed by someone and they're in a prison, and he's giving
Red Wizards. He stole because he used to be working for the Harpers, and they were like quote unquote arresting Red Wizards, and during the process he stole, this is like a spoiler towards the end, but he stole a coin, and that coin was tracked, and because he stole that coin, his wife died.
Yep. Because I don't know much about the Fae, because what we've played, we haven't had much interaction with Fae. I know Grads loves them and loses his mind every time someone mentions Fae or whatever.
In fact, the first campaign I ever played with Grads, he played a Fae. Yeah, he was a like sort of a bad guy.
Fae are what? They're red wizards. Like they have red wizards. They're keen on slavery. That's the
So their main exports are magical items and humans.
Yeah.
They are the most powerful wizards in the realm, more or less. Super dangerous. All their powerful wizards are like liches and demi-liches and more or less gods, undead gods. They're just beyond powerful, but they're so far from all of the current campaigns are set on the Sword Coast, which is like the far west of Faerun, which is where Waterdeep and Neverwinter and those places are. The Fae are like at the inner sea, on the north side of the inner sea, which is, way more to the east. They're not close enough. So a lot of the current campaigns don't deal with the Fae, but I do wonder if there's going to be a book coming out that does, because this movie, introducing the Fae to a lot of people, it's the first time we've really had them shown.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that goes. So essentially, Edgin goes and creates his own little merry band because he wants to get his daughter back. And
I'm really, really sorry. I need to quickly correct myself.
Yep.
I've been saying Fae. It's Thay. TH. Thay.
I thought it was FE.
The Fae are like a different thing. They're almost like pixies and whatever else.
Okay.
They is the place.
Okay.
Sure. THAY.
Right. Got you. All right. But There was a number of things. So overall, I thought this was actually quite a fun ride. Like there was the interactions between the crew, very fun,
Hmm.
and it's like
Hmm.
like you said, it felt like players in a campaign acting. Like they
Hmm.
felt like a group of friends that obviously had some history where that
Yeah.
sometimes does not come across on screen. Like if you're throwing these characters in,
Yep.
you don't have that sort of banter that's coming off. Like they are able to get that to come across to the audience, which is very hard to do.
Hmm.
But where I struggled with this film, there was a number of things. So Holgar,
Olga. Yeah,
yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez from fucking Fast and Furious and shit.
So I thought she did a reasonable job, but I am kind of confused. Was she meant to be a giant or was she meant to be larger than a number of people? Like what? Like they made reference to her, like, well, I guess, race or whatever character, that they were like a people that were larger. And they made some really inconsistent like perspectives of her being larger than a number of people, but when they're with the crew,
Do
she was of normal size.
you mean just like that time that she interacted with the halfling who was like
No,
Bradley
like
Cooper?
no, they did it consistently. Like
Oh,
they made reference to her being from a different, like a barbarian or like a different sort of
no, I didn't pick
larger.
up at all.
Uh, like it happened about 3 or 4 times where they made her like really large, and then it was just back to normal sort of
She is
perspective.
barbarian. She's Utgard, which is like the Viking, I guess. She's from the Elk tribe, but
Yeah.
um, I don't think she's meant to be like a giant. She's just an Uthgard, which is, I guess, maybe they're bigger than regular folk. But I never picked that up at all. I didn't notice.
Oh, I noticed that a number of times, but
Oh,
I wasn't sure if it was deliberate or it was just like them forcing perspective or something, but it
mm.
came
I
across.
guess yeah, she's meant to be like barbarians, more intimidating, whatever. I
Yeah.
wish her rages were more obvious though. Barbarian rage is meant to be like not all of them, depending on what path you take, but they're meant to be almost bloodthirsty. I would have liked that bit more in her, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't come across. She didn't get that intimidation factor that I was expecting.
Yeah,
But
I thought for a while she was more of a fighter than a barbarian because she didn't necessarily feel like a barbarian enough, but
yeah.
it's whatever.
Then you've got Simon, the wizard, who
Hmm.
I
Justice Smith.
I didn't like his sort of character arc. It
It's very
annoyed me.
typical on it.
Yeah, like he was the bumbling sort of not very good magician who was conning people to all of a sudden
Sorcerer.
he had incredible powers, and he was a descendant of someone or other, like the person in the helmet.
Elmeister Umar,
Yeah,
which is like
like
an old character.
yeah, it was just
Mm.
that was annoying. But and then uh, I thought the wizard, so the bad Fey wizard was really cool. Like
Hmm.
the transitional aspects of her, like especially
Yep.
with the fights, was cool, and
Hmm.
the powers and them even being able to throw so many references into one film. Like it didn't feel like it was just here's one scene, here's a reference, here's a scene, here's a reference. Like they actually worked them
Yes.
into the story like reasonably well. Like even having the, what was it called, the Gladimus cube or whatever. Like I thought
Oh,
that
the
was
gelatinous cube.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was just going to be thrown in for like a reference, but
Yeah.
it actually worked with the story, and like
Definitely.
having the owl bear, like I wasn't sure how the owl bear was going to go, but like having the
Hmm.
wild shape changes, like all of
Yeah.
that,
They look
all
really
of,
cool.
yeah, and it worked well to
There were
how,
moments though where because this is D&D, my brain goes into problem solving at certain moments. And there's a moment where um our druid character is escaping and she turns into a bird and she's flying through the air and she's getting shot at with arrows. Earlier in that scene, she was a fly. Why wouldn't she turn to a fly again and then just, go inside something? Like you can't see a fly from more than like 10 meters away. So just turn to a fly straight up, and you've escaped. So that was one problem I did find in this couple times where I'm like, I could think of a solution, not difficult solution, not because I'm a fucking genius. Just there are moments because this is D&D, you're gonna have that happening with D&D brains. But it's fine. Like you've got to have some tension. You know,
Yeah.
in the D&D world, we always just rely on wild shape or invisibility to escape situations. It's, you know, kind of nice to actually have some tension because we do sort of ruin that at times in D&D.
Yeah, like overall, very, very fun film. Like it's a
Definitely.
far superior than any of the D&D aspects that they've
Oh,
had before or other films.
yeah,
So
hands down.
yeah.
Hands down. Um, I I forgot what I was gonna say. Did you notice that the daughter we only saw a couple weeks ago in the what was it called? 74 with high pants?
Oh right.
That was his daughter too, I think.
Yeah,
That
right.
same actor, I think. I
Yeah,
could be wrong. Let me have a
yeah,
look.
right. I didn't pick that up. 65 it was with Adam
65. Yeah, yeah,
Adam
yeah.
Driver. Yeah,
Yep,
right.
yep. It's the same
So
girl.
I'm assuming she's a coming up action star in the make.
She didn't do a lot of action. I guess she is quite good at like carrying emotion, I think, for especially for a young actor.
Yeah.
And you know, a couple of moments in this where she had to cry or be upset or whatever, and I think she did a pretty good job. So I mean, just getting hired for good reason.
What was her skills or whatever? Because she could just turn invisible. Like it seemed very convenient.
She had I think it's called a pendant of invisibility, which is
Ah,
just a thing that you wear around your neck, and you can go invisible. Like she had no powers. She had
ah,
stuff.
got you.
That's the same with Edgin. I expected Edgin to be a bard,
Yeah,
but he had no magical ability at all. He is a bard who performs, but his music doesn't do anything. Like bards in D&D, not all of them, but you know, the
some
magical
do.
ones
Yeah,
use their instruments or whatever to create magic.
yeah. I was expecting him to have more like of the character roles, but like I guess the miss they picked probably more of the popular ones. I'd guess in terms of
Hmm.
barbarian, a bard, uh,
Yeah.
a rogue, a paladin, and a sorcerer. Like I'm assuming they're probably the more popular variations that people pick.
Yeah, I still would have. I think because I not because I don't know heaps. I know people who know way more than me, but because I know a fair bit about D&D lore and sort of history of characters and races and whatever, I really want movies about like the Sundering, which is the Elven Wars.
Mhm.
Um, I really want movies about like dwarves versus elves or the era where gods were fighting dragons and stuff. Oh, sorry, giants were fighting dragons, and like that's the shit that I think really fun. Like these stories following some characters, as much as I got little, you know, tidbits of moments of the D&D world. There is so much more that I would love to see on screen. That's a good thing. If I watch this and I want more D&D movies, then fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, they've got such a massive backlog of lore to be able to even cover. I don't think.
Enormous.
I think this was probably the smartest decision they could have went with in
Yeah.
terms of how to get people like new into it or into like the fantasy genre. And they're
Yeah.
like, here's a film that you don't really need that much backstory to be able to like follow
Hmm.
along.
Hmm.
I think that's a clever choice in terms of the direction they
Definitely.
went.
And
Where
go on.
where if they went into like all the parts that you want to see, I think that'd be
Yes.
too
It's
overwhelming
almost
for
gatekeeping in a way. Yeah.
yeah. Like you, they want to make money from it. They want to bring more people in.
Yeah.
They've done a very good job.
There, I think what's also smart slash safe about this is they've done characters that we don't know yet, as much as they could easily do a film about Drizzt, who's like this. There's so many books about this character. There's so much they could do. By doing characters we don't know yet, there's no risk of like they've ruined this character or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's much more engaging for new people as well. Yeah, this was great. I'd be interested to know someone's perspective if they have no connection with D&D. Obviously, I can't speak for that, and I don't know anyone who does, who has seen this, who hasn't had any connection with D&D prior. So if you are one of those people, please write to us, send us a message. I'm really, really curious to know what you thought. But this, for me, was a fucking good ride, and
Yeah.
I'm actually excited for this to come out on some streaming platform or something because I want to watch it a few more times and like pause moments because there were moments where we're being bombarded with stuff, especially when they're in Neverwinter, that I would have liked to have paused a couple of times and looked at, even looking at locations and stuff, like the prison. There are certain locations that I would love to like, have a better look at rather than just, a glimpse into a scene.
Yeah.
But it was really good, really fun.
Very cool. What would you give it though?
I've given it a 4.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's not a 5. I don't like movies that just throw one-liners in. I think that's sort of that's not the only thing, but I think that's what partly ruined modern Star Wars is there's all these little one-liners in there that just feel really shit. There are a couple of moments where I did like roll my eyes when I watched this, and I think some of the stories a little like there was still a CG battle at the end, as every action movie right now is just doing. But because I really like D&D, I was watching that scene, trying to pick up like different spells they were using and trying to pay attention to how they do certain things and what like counter spell and things like that. So even though it was just a CGI battle at the end, it was for my D&D brain really engaging. Yeah, it was good. I had a really good time. 4 out of 5 for sure. Not perfect, but a really, really good time.
Yeah, I do agree. Like I had a great time with it. And like there were moments where I was like, oh, was that supposed to be a thing or is that how it works? And just like looking at I was a little bit confused with Holgar, whatever you want to say her name.
It's just like Olga,
Olga. Yeah.
silent H.
Like I was confused whether she was meant to be larger or if she grew at points in time, but and there were some convenient aspects in terms of how they got around some stuff, but it was like it's okay. Like I'm okay. I know they're going to survive. I know they're going to be able to be the party that wins it all. But overall, very, very enjoyable. Had a great time. I would like to see a darker aspect like Curse of Strahd or something like that. Like that could be,
oh my god. Oh my god, a Curse of Strahd film.
Like that could be very, very cool in terms of
it'd be a whole different genre.
Yeah, like seeing that across it. But yeah, I do agree. It's a 4. Like it's good and it's getting the exposure that D&D away from that like very cheesy early adaptations of the films, and hopefully it's getting more people aware of D&D. Like D&D
definitely
is very overwhelming to come into. Like it's
yeah
so much stuff. Like I remember you trying to walk me through my first character, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell.
So intimidating.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, definitely. And if this makes someone even interested in the world, that's a pretty easy stepping stone for sure.
Yeah,
this was made pretty cheap too. 150 million isn't that much for a modern film.
No.
In our last podcast, we talked about Detective Pikachu. That was like 430 million. Like almost 3
years. Was that Cocaine Bear?
No, I mean last week. I mean earlier today when we recorded the other podcast.
Got you.
The first movie comes to my head we were talking about was Detective Pikachu and how expensive that was.
Yeah.
150 million isn't much for an action adventure film. If they could pump these out, like this was a really fun time.
Yeah. So
oh my god, you got me so excited for Curse of Strahd film. I want that so bad.
Yeah, go check it out. Let us know what you think about it, or if you're interested in D&D, put that in. If you're on YouTube, put it in obviously the comments, and we'll put it in the Q&A part with the show notes on Spotify, etc.
Especially if this is your first entrance into D&D, I'd love to know what you thought
or experience. I would like to see both end of the scale, really. So let us know. All right, so moving from one action film to the next action film, this is John Wick, which is Chapter 4. I kind of like how they haven't gone with like an overly impressive name. They're literally just John Wick Chapter.
That's all it needs to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
So I'd seen the first one and I thoroughly enjoyed the first film. And then us coming into it, you found a recap video on YouTube to
Yep.
explain the films.
Mhm.
I went, no, I'm going to watch 2 and 3 before I watch 4. So I started
Big week.
I started chapter 2 on Friday and I finished chapter 4 Saturday night. So it with the films being like 2 hours and some change a piece,
Mhm.
and number 4 being 2 hours and 40 something minutes, like
Yep.
they it was
It's a lot of watching.
it was a lot of watching.
Especially for you.
But yeah, especially for me, where I am a big action film fan, so I do really like action films. So we'll go into this film now. So John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes.
Mhm.
So John Wick, not an overly complicated story. So a little bit of a recap for everyone coming in if you haven't seen it or are thinking about it. I don't think the story, spoiling any of the story, is really groundbreaking. So I don't even care about giving you a spoiler warning. I don't think you're not in this for your overall story.
Don't spoil the end of this movie yet, because I
No,
think the end
not yet.
is
Yeah.
yeah, but you can
Yeah.
definitely spoil the first 3 movies.
Yeah. So John Wick, he has a well, he got out of the underworld life and he unfortunately gets pulled back into it. His wife has died and they hurt his puppy, and then it all kicks off from there. And throughout chapter 1, 2, and 3, we get drip fed this, a little bit of lore about this high table and the underground of how it all sort of works. So there's this overarching high table where all of the crime lords have their own like seat, and then it sort of filters down and we get to learn bits and pieces where they have a mutual agreement of if you have these sort of safe zones in terms of you're not allowed to commit crimes against each other in these sort of areas, and one of them is John Wick's friend, who I forget his name consistently because I don't think they sort of ever really say his name that
Which
much.
friend?
The one that has the hotel.
Winston.
Is it Winston?
Winston's
Yeah.
the old short guy.
Yep. Yep. So
Yep.
Winston's kind of his friend, but also his rival, which is a very interesting dynamic, which has a bit of a cliffhanger on the end of chapter 3, where
Are
John.
they rivals? I didn't know that.
Well, I think everyone in the crime world is kind of a rival. So you even have like you got John who just wants to sort of survive, but then you've got like Lawrence Fishburne,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Bowery King. So I
Yeah,
feel
just call him King. Yeah.
like all of them want to be able to progress and further their sort of standing. So I do see everyone
Yeah.
in the crime world as kind of a rival, even though John Wick just wants to get out, where old mate
Mm-hmm.
Winston does use him to be able to further his standings because that's what
Yeah.
I would assume
Okay. You look at it
the
that way, I suppose. Yeah.
like the underworld kind of is. But
Mm-hmm.
where it all kicks off is John makes a lot of enemies and he kills a lot of people. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would say out of a 2-hour film, probably 45 minutes is literally just action
Yeah.
scene.
On the
And
recap that I watched, there was something. I think it was like 240 was the body count by the end of movie 3
yeah,
or something.
um,
Yeah.
I gotta say the action scenes are very stylish. They're shot well, but
Amazing.
it's very, very obvious that John Wick has plot armor. There are
Of
moments,
course.
but it's very obvious moments. Like the edits aren't quick enough where it's not like I'll stand here and hold you in this position so that I can then perform my like judo throw, or I'll do one of my takedowns. Like It got a little bit worse towards like each entry as he was
Okay.
like running through different aspects. Like there was moments where he was doing judo throws into like the jiu-jitsu holds where he was doing arm bars, and then he was like holding the guy while he was shooting, and you could see some people weren't dead and they had a clear line of shot to like shoot him, but they wouldn't take it. It's like
Yeah.
there was definitely those sort of aspects.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
old mate's got Wolverine healing, so it was at the end of chapter 3 where John Wick is like completely beaten up because he makes enemies of the high table where he kills one of the people on the sacred ground, and that's where he becomes ex Confederate or ex. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but he essentially becomes.
Excommunicado, they
That's
call
the
it.
one. Yeah, so he becomes a massive bounty on his head because he's broken the high table's rules so that they're not animals. And I am interested in terms of, does every bounty get a soundtrack in terms of when the people are chasing him? Because they're in the end of chapter 3, you get the scene of the background, or like the people that are doing the bounty, and they have the chalkboard where they enter the detail. And then in 4, when they're like, the pink-haired lady is like, all right, this one goes out to John Wick.
Oh, right.
You can't
Yeah, they're trying to like tell people where he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they have a radio station and she's
Yeah.
playing music. I know it's like 1 and 3 did this sort of just generic-y kind of upbeat, techno-y kind of whatever genre that is. But number 4 actually goes into like full Nowhere to Run. Like they actually do the
Yeah.
songs for it. And I was just
Yeah.
wondering, like, is
Good on
it
the nose.
every bounty? Does every bounty have their own radio
No,
station? And they
surely
have
not. No.
I
No,
think they
like no. You think in
no.
this world, like what John Wick is doing, he's completely shaking the fabrications of this enormous worldwide corporation. Of course that this is unique.
Well, no, but everyone else has got bounties and stuff on them as
Yeah,
well.
but
Like,
nothing compared to him.
no, but he only started at like what 10 million or something, and it continually goes up. Also, this underground, like, I'm assuming they would have lots of money. They are running some old technology. They're running off
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the old printers and this like really old like typing. I
Kind of
felt
like that though, because that it removes like even their like call center was like the classic, a bunch of women sitting in a room unplugging cord from one connection to the next connection, like having operators. That was cool because it takes away the digital footprint of this underground group. There's no if there's no online records, there's no leaking, there's no
yeah.
like hacking. Everything's old school. I think that's
I th-
cool.
okay. I just assumed like they would have this high tech situation going on rather than chalkboards and the
Mm.
old school like printer paper where you can rip off the sides. Where you like, I just assumed they would have more of an high tech
Yeah,
situation
of
going.
course. I think,
Also,
like I said, I
yeah,
think there's reason for it. Anyway,
yeah. So John Wick's obviously, he has the biggest bounty pretty much anyone has ever seen. I think he gets up to about 20 odd million or something or other, or 40 million.
I think
Can't
it's a
remember.
40 at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. But he essentially is just, it's like a dialogue scene where you fed some information, an action scene. He'll go to a new location. It happens again. There was a moment where they bring in these new, like, what are they called? They're like these little disc sort of amulet kind of holders, and it's like you sign your blood. It's like a blood oath pack
Oh yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
so they're coming in. So there's all these like different sort of factions have different sort of rules, where he goes
Yep.
to Belgium, and which is the cross. I can't remember what they're exactly called. So where he goes with the beads, and they're like, if I break this, you're now like not a part of us. And then
Wasn't that? I thought it was Russian.
no, they kept making reference going to Belgium.
Oh my bad.
Yeah. So so after they break the pack, like they have to brand him or like burn him with one of the pokers. But then it gets reinstated later on because he has to then go do a job so that he can be their, what is it, champion.
Yeah.
So there's the old school duel where they have to then become the champion. But then
Yeah.
to reinstate his claim or whatever it is, he has to then burn another part of his skin. But I was concerned of like, if you broke your pack or broke a number of them, how much skin real estate would that take up? Like, would there be a point where you couldn't break anymore, or you
Any more
couldn't like,
packs that you're out of skin?
yeah, like
Yeah.
the reinstating one is massive. Like it's right up the forearm,
Hmm.
which is that's a lot of
I
skin.
guess so.
That's a lot of skin
I guess
real
that's
estate.
that's cool though. Like if you see people with their with their packed things on their face, it's like they've broken that many packs that they have start putting on their face. That's how like untrustworthy they are. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, that was
It's like the
just
classic blue dye that explodes when you steal money, sort of thing. Like it brands you.
yeah. So I don't know. I just a random thought. As you know,
Yeah.
I get random thoughts when
Uh-huh.
these things pop up. But the cinematography, the action is fantastic. Like
Hmm.
considering there's so much action, and if you don't like sort of plot armor for the action hero to be able to
Yeah.
walk away and survive, you're not going to really enjoy this. But
Hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed 2, 3, and 4. I
Yep.
thought
That's fair.
so. People have said that 4 is like a masterpiece,
Hmm.
where I did enjoy it, but I didn't think it was as good as people were saying. Like I actually
Okay.
thought, I reckon two and parts of 3 were actually better than 4. Like
Okay.
I know this is a more of a revenge tale and like more of a bit of a redemption arc, and then we get the jewel. I thought the jewel was cool in terms of right at the end where
I
it
had
was,
the end bit. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So as he becomes the champion, has to fight his what is his name, the Kane. So the like
Kane. Yep.
his friend
His
Kane.
blind friend.
Yeah,
Hmm.
where I don't know about Kane in terms of him being such an amazing martial artist while being blind,
Yeah.
but it's like
Yeah.
very
There were times where I'm
Daredevil
like,
esque.
yes, definitely Daredevil.
Yeah.
But Daredevil was like, was he not? Was that not a superpower?
Yeah, so Daredevil got the chemical in his eyes, which then blinded his eye,
Right.
and he kind of had like sonary kind of vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he could still see, but it was like more of a bat. So it would bounce back and it would give him like the
Mm.
bleeping radar kind of
I'm thinking
vision.
that's how we're meant to envision this character too, in a way. Yeah, he was a bit like too too like unbelievable, but that's fine. Like I went into, this movie presents so many things, like you said, plot armor or whatever else, that you just need to turn off your brain for a good movie with no plot holes and just sort of
Yeah.
enjoy the action scenes for what they are. And doing that, I like this was fun. I've watched 1 and 2. I liked 1 a lot. I thought 2 was very unexciting. I didn't watch number 3 because I didn't really like number 2.
Yeah.
And then I watched that recap. I skipped number 3. This was really good. It makes me actually want to go back and watch number 3 now, or at least watch them in maybe even in succession. Um, I think having a whole bunch of characters in this is what I enjoyed the most. Like we obviously follow John Wick from start to finish, and every scene is pretty much with John Wick doing his thing. But having the tracker, who kept saying his name was Mr. No One or Mr.
Mhm.
Nobody, whatever his name was, um, this character that I love his motivation. He wants to keep John Wick alive, but only because he wants John Wick's bounty to increase so that he can kill John Wick once his bounty is high enough. And I
Yeah.
love that story. Like that's such an interesting character with interesting motivations. And there are times where he literally saves John Wick's life. And there's like an ending thing there I won't get into, but um, his character was fantastic. I really liked Kane, the blind martial artist.
Yeah.
I thought his scenes were some of my favorites. And I think Bill Skarsgård, who played the bad guy, he did such a good job. I really like Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah. He
He's
was
impressing me
creepy,
more and
wasn't he?
more. Mm,
Yeah. Very, very creepy in terms of his whole demeanor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's
What?
Pennywise. He's
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah.
he's got a creepy history, but he's so great in this. It's so good.
There was one point where I was like a bit confused. So John Wick is essentially the agreed to the duel. They've set the rules. Actually, there's
Mhm.
two. Two. I'm gonna go back. So when he
Okay.
meets when he's in the desert and stuff, and
Look for the elder right at the beginning.
yeah,
Hmm.
so they're like he has to sacrifice his ring finger to be able to
Hmm.
like get the bounty off him.
Yeah, that's
What?
in movie 3.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then he's missing his ring finger, and then he
Yep.
kills the elder because the elder wouldn't give his ring back or whatever. But I don't understand what their sort of vision is in terms of taking fingers and burning skin, and like, is it just so it's a permanent record, or is it like
Yeah, it's like
a
commitment. That's what
okay?
it's all about. Because even when Bill Skarsgård, I can't remember his character's name, when he stabs his knife into the tracker, into his hand, and the tracker has to either pull the knife out to show that he's self-interested, or leave the knife in his hand and remove his hand from the knife by literally dragging his hand. That was pretty fucking like gut wrenching. Yeah, it's all just about showing your commitment.
But that would make like the hands. That would make you less effective in the field.
Yes, that
no,
would destroy your hand. Like that hand wouldn't be usable anymore at all. And then later we see it just wrapped and he's like shooting and fighting. And yeah, I know.
yeah,
Definitely.
which is a weird choice for these guys who are hitmen essentially. Like
Hmm.
you're essentially taking, well,
Yeah.
reducing their effectiveness
Yeah.
because they've only got, well, one hand or
Hmm.
like nine fingers. So
Yeah.
it was a weird choice. And then
It is.
the other thing I couldn't understand was, so they've agreed to the duel and they know
Hmm.
that it's at sunrise at this location.
Yep.
I assumed once the duel had been agreed upon and set that that was like honored, but
I would have thought too. Yeah.
everyone's still attacking him, and like every Google search that I've done is like, once the duel is set, why is John Wick still being attacked? But
Yeah.
I can't find an answer.
Yeah. I guess just
Answer.
because there's no rules for that in their little society thing. That's why when they were playing the card game to who made the decisions, John Wick was like, I want to do it now. So there's no opportunity for this bullshit. And then, he won the card flip.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know what you mean. Like I thought the same. I thought that meant they sleep, they wake up, they duel. But there was no rules about that at all.
No,
Hmm.
it was weird in terms of the rules. I think they just had an overarching sort of idea with
Yeah.
rules, and then they were like,
And they
oh,
needed, because it's an action movie, they need a climactic action sequence at the end. And a pistol duel isn't a climactic action sequence. It's a tense sequence, but it's not a climactic action sequence. So yeah, they needed to have that moment of him fighting up the stairs and falling back down again and the whole
also
dog thing and
he fell down a lot of stairs. There was like
him
almost
rolling. It was fucking comedic.
it was like almost a minute of him rolling
Yeah.
downstairs. I was like,
There's a scene.
you didn't fight that many stairs. You didn't go up
No,
that many.
no, and he just keeps rolling and rolling. And like he reaches the moments on staircases where it's flat and he just keeps rolling. It felt like, I'm not sure if you remember or not, the opening sequence of Kung Pao where the baby's rolling down the hill and
Uh,
like the woman picks up the baby and says, "Oh, so cute," and then throws it down the hill again. Bye
no,
bye.
no.
Um, it felt like I laughed at that moment when I was watching it. It felt very like a comedy. It was
Yeah.
weird.
It's just
Where he just kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and then new shots and rolling and new shots and rolling. And you're like, he's gonna stop now. He's slowing down, and he keeps rolling.
and then he had like a minute to get to the jewel after
Yeah.
rolling down a minute of stairs. I was like, you're not
Yeah.
gonna make that, mate.
Hmm.
But Wolverine healing and stuff. Just
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that was weird. One thing that, like, I know that this wasn't intentional because it was filmed a while ago, but it was kind of weird and a little bit like seeing Lance Reddick get shot, like seeing him die in this,
yeah.
considering he recently died.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that. that reaction.
Just as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh, that's a bit touchy. Like I know that it was, they could never have anticipated that, and what they're going to do, rewrite it. But yeah, seeing
Yeah.
him die on scene, like, wow, that's kind of fresh.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's just timing wise.
Yeah,
But,
it's not his fault.
yeah, that's fun. But do we go into the ending? Do we spoil it for the people?
Let's do it. I think it's
All
worth
right.
discussing.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. If you want to go watch it, I'd recommend go watching it because the ending, it's not a twist, but like this we're going to reveal something that will potentially ruin it for you. So,
I think it's a good ending.
yep,
To be fair.
yep.
So
All
the
right,
duel.
spoilers 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep. So they have the duel, and John and Kane are having their pistol duel. John is winning, and then they have to, after the first shot, which is weird that it sort of both shot them in the arm, like in terms of the directional shot. And
Felt intentional to me, like
yeah,
they almost planned it without planning it.
maybe. And then they got to go 10 paces closer, and then they both have to turn and shoot. John doesn't shoot, so this is a bit of the twist. Kane shoots John.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, I kind of liked how Winston got a little one-liner in that, where Scarsdale's character comes over and is like gloating and mocking at Wick, and then Winston's like, he didn't shoot, and then all of a sudden John,
it's like, you idiot, he didn't shoot,
and then John gets to kill him, and technically that because he has killed his target, he has lived up to the duel, and technically wins. Technically,
which I thought it would have been still considered an assassination, but like the adjudicator, whoever he was like, "Yep, that counts, John. See ya, you're all good. Kane, you're fine."
Yeah,
like it did feel like there was going to be some sort of ramifications. Not that it mattered, because as it continues, John has suffered too many injuries and he dies.
Which is weird that's the injury that gets him. Not falling down stairs for a minute or being stabbed and having to run and whatnot, but that's the one that kills him. And it's bittersweet in terms of seeing John being buried next to his wife, Helen, and his last word being Helen. I really enjoyed it. I think that was the moment. Like, he was looking for a way out, and he sort of knew the way out was he had to die. I don't think there even is a way out unless he wanted to sit on the seat and kind of rule. Yeah.
And all he wanted to do was to be free. And I think it's a perfect end to this character. Like, they kept saying it in this movie, and knowing the ending, it was a little bit on the nose. They kept saying, how's this going to end? When's this going to end? You're going to kill him? It's not going to end. What happens next? Everyone kept saying that. Like, it was mentioned probably 5 or 6 times by different characters. But it was very fitting, I think, to have him die. We don't need to know this happy ever after. I don't think this movie would have deserved that. Not in a bad way, but just, I don't think that's the direction this movie would have gone, a happy ending, considering what it is.
Did you see the post-credit scene where they're going to essentially setting up? So there is a post-credit scene. So it is, how Kane's whole motive is to protect his daughter.
Oh, they're doing a Kane spin-off.
Well, they're either doing a Kane spin-off, but Kane is seeing his daughter, and then there is a moment where a knife is pulled, but then it cuts to black, so we don't know the outcome of it. So there is a potentially, I'm not sure would they call it John Wick, because John Wick is dead, but there's definitely there's room for like a spin-off, like 5th movie in the John Wick realm. But I don't know that they would be able to carry the same excitement, because you're obviously attached to John and his story.
And Keanu.
Yeah.
He himself sells a lot of it, I think.
Like, I'm not sold on Kane's character or his daughter's character either. So I don't know. To be fair, I probably would watch it.
I'd probably watch it, but Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't have really thought about that, but yeah, if anyone, I guess he's the right one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think leave it at the 4 and
I
just
agree.
just leave it. Like you've done really well for.
Yeah.
I don't think they originally planned for it to be a consecutive couple of movies. Like I thought it
Well,
was going to be.
considering, sorry, considering, I don't actually pronounce, I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name, but Chad Stahelski, I think is right.
I think that's pretty good.
Um, yeah, like this is John Wick 1 was the first movie he directed. Like his background is in stunts. Like he used to be one of Keanu Reeves's stunt doubles in The Matrix.
Yeah.
And, to go from that to being a stunt director to being a producer of bits and pieces, and now he's done these 4 movies. Like I think he's earned a lot of clout in the industry and he could do a lot of good stuff now.
Well, he's got
This is great.
11 up and coming films.
Hectic. Okay.
11. So
As director.
uh yeah. So 11 up and coming films as a director. Highlander I really liked back in the old early 2000s. That will
I
be
don't know
pretty
it.
cool. Highlander's the one where like they're immortal unless you chop their head off. It's like with the old Viking Norse sort of
Oh, cool.
law and swords.
That's
Ghost
sick.
of Sushami, however you say it.
So he's is he doing Ghost of Tsushima?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. That's sick.
Classified Shimbami. I have no idea what that is. Black Samurai, Vice City, Rain, Sandman Slim. No idea. Rainbow Six. That's interesting.
Yeah,
But I
right.
guess I guess he's the John Wick would action
A
scenes
lot of
would.
these are producers. Just looking at the list.
I'm on his director page and it says he is director.
Okay.
Kill or Be Killed, and Gangsters of Shanghai. They are
Oh
all
yeah, Ghost of
listed.
Tsushima director.
They're all
Yep, yep.
listed for him to be the director. So I guess we'll
Okay.
see.
Vice City. I wonder if that's
Uh,
GDA.
that'd be hard to replicate into a film.
Mm.
It
Speaking of video
follows.
game adaptations, there's a few there.
It follows 3 former soldiers who return to their homes after being dishonorably discharged from the military for being involved in Iran Contra scandal. So I
What movie
don't.
is that?
Vice
Vice
City.
City.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So not at all.
No, no. But I think we're digressing. So
Yeah.
um,
Interesting.
I think he has sold himself in the action realm. So interested to see
Hmm.
what he can come up with after John Wick.
There
What would
is a there is a mini series called the Continental, and the synopsis is: the Continental is a chain of hotels located all around the world that function as a neutral territory for members of the criminal underworld.
gotcha?
So it looks like that is the spin-off to the John Wick series. Is they're doing a mini series called Continental, and it centers around the Continental in New York, the one they're rebuilding at the end of
Yeah.
movie 4.
Okay.
That's interesting. Mel Gibson is in it. Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll see. We'll
Jeez, I
see.
thought he was like cancelled at this point.
Mm, no, he came back. He's been in. I think he was in Hot Seat. He was the cop in Hot Seat, which had Johnny
Okay,
Drama from Entourage. So
not sure. No idea.
it was shocking. But anyway,
Interesting.
what would you give it?
Um, like a 4 as well. It's probably even close to a 4.5. I'm not sure I enjoyed it more than the D&D movie, like very different reasons. But this was like I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I thought I was going to, have a good time, I guess. But going into it knowing it was over 2.5 hours, like, oh man, this is gonna be a slog. But it really wasn't. This was like a pretty fun ride from start to finish. I think a 4 is pretty fair. Maybe
Okay.
even like a 4 point a little bit. Yeah, way more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Like you go into it knowing what it's going to be. The best parts are the action parts, but
Yep.
there's some really cool. Oh, there's a moment. Sorry, while we're talking about it,
Mm.
there's a moment because they do things different, and that's what I like. I don't like when action films are just quick cuts Everything feels like everything else.
Oh, is this
There were
a
moments in
top-down shot?
this. Yes.
Yeah,
They
I
do an
forgot
entire
about
bird's eye view of like this quite large complex, and it's all one take. And it's John Wick going from room to room. You see the men walking through different areas behind walls and stuff. You see him shoot through doors. Like that whole sequence, I would watch over and over and over again. That was really fucking cool. It's like it reminded me of the
that.
church or the chapel scene in fuck me. What's
The
the
Kingsman.
Kingsman? Thank you so much. In the first Kingsman movie, how it like you know do action, just do something different. Yeah, this did a lot of good. A lot of good.
Yeah, it reminded me of the game was it Hotline Miami, like the
Yeah,
top-down
fair.
shooter, and like
Uh-huh.
those stick-based shooters. Like
hmm
that's, and I thought it was really
Old school
cool.
GTA. Yeah,
Yeah,
GTA 1 and 2.
yeah,
hmm
very very cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I would probably give it a 4.5 just because
Yeah.
I watched they're 2 hours a piece, like 8 hours of John Wick over 2 days, and I had a great time with all of them. Like
hmm
it's just fun action. It's what the action films you want. So like
Yep.
action films have sort of changed a bit, but this is like old school action hero. Yes, there's plot armor. Yes, there's a few
Yep.
scenes that could probably be quicker edits, but the story is not. You're not there for the story. You're there for the action, and it delivers heavily on the action, and it's shot very, very nicely in terms of the
Yeah.
cinematography is great, the stunts are great,
Absolutely.
and
hmm
you're in there for it delivers on what it needs to be, and I loved it.
Yeah. Really,
4.5,
really good.
easy. All right, let's
hmm
move on to Guns of Eden. It's
two really good action adventure movies into this. Oh boy.
all right. This is the even the synopsis is terrible. So this is Guns of Eden. I'm gonna read you the poster because I kind of need to just explain to you of how little there is of anything. So
Oh right.
the poster has the main girl who is Megan or Alexander Faye Stadnaskishin.
Sadigian? Who
Yeah, I
knows? Who
don't know.
cares?
This is
Doesn't
Megan.
matter.
She she's standing there on a hillside that is overcast and there's helicopters coming in and the ash is falling down. One tree's on fire for whatever reason. But
Yep.
against all odds, Guns of Eden, she will survive. So the tagline for this is just action. There's nothing else about it. 4 weekend campers are hunted by an armed
Militia.
militia. I was going on to
Yep.
my next sentence where they could have actually explained that she was a cop that was struggling with, like it could have been a cop witnesses a murder while
Yep.
camping, not
Yep.
not
And he's
for
hunted. Yep.
not
By
for
corrupt cops.
yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's just it's so out there that it's just bizarre in terms of anything. So
But it definitely sets like a precedence for what's to come because this is the most like least effort movie I've probably ever seen in so many ways.
yeah, this was something. So it starts out that the it starts off as kind of like a buddy cop film with
Mm,
you have the Megan who's the main girl that's on there, and then you've
mhm.
got who was the other guy?
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Jeremy was the
Yeah.
the male cop.
Yeah, so Jeremy and Megan they're buddy cops and they are in a convenience store where it is being robbed, and this is where this random story sort of kind of kicks off. But
Yeah.
she they pull out their guns and they're like, "Stop, police!" And
hmm
unfortunately, for whatever reason, she shoots.
hmm
I didn't even care about this part. Did she shoot a civilian or the?
She shoots another police officer.
That's right.
They're in like a bodega. This music comes in of making these guys look all mysterious. And these people come in, they try to rob the bodega. Jeremy and Megan, who are out of uniform, I think prevent or like try to stop it, whatever. Then uniform officers come, and somehow, I don't even know how. In my notes, I wrote she accidentally shot him. How? All of a sudden, we see her like fumble the gun, even though she's a fucking hero later, and she like shoots this cop. So then her life is ruined because she shot a armed officer.
But there wasn't even a resolution with it. Like they didn't
No,
explain like or a court case or an investigation. It was just that
nothing.
she was like, "No, I'm not part of it." And
I'm leaving the force.
yeah, no, old mate
Mhm.
Jeremy was like, "Oh, you know, come to this camping trip." And then she points out reference of like, "Oh, you can never stay out of uniform or whatever," because he's wearing his like police shirt, not like the button up one, but like the casual
Yeah,
sweatshirt
yeah.
police or whatever it is. I don't even know what they're. Buffalo? Are they Buffalo? I
Buffalo?
can't. I feel like they're in Buffalo. I don't know.
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't care enough.
No, so
But yeah, then they go camping.
for whatever reason, they're out camping, and the dialogue is hard to watch.
Bad.
Like I giggled at the start because I was like, "Oh, this is going to be fun," but then you
Yeah.
realize it doesn't get better. It
No.
it actually gets worse. Like I
Oh
think
yeah.
it leans into it right at the end, but I don't know that it's supposed to be trying to lean into it. I think
Definitely not.
it was just that bad. So they're out camping, and it's not explained, but are these people like are they the sheriffs or are they just the bad guys of this town? Are they like
Yeah, because
military
they're
trained? Like what is it that
exactly. I thought they were like cops. I thought they were police because later we see them driving literally cars that say police on the side.
yeah.
I was so confused to what they were as well because yeah, you're right. Like if they were in the same general area as where they lived, surely they would know these people because if they're part of the force. But I don't. Yeah, I have no idea what they were meant to be. They were because they kept talking about how they were like these men who were not just men, but these people who were readying themselves for a war.
Yeah,
Like I think,
which confused me in terms of how they were police officers or had some training or whatever. Like
yeah,
it's very confusing. But my favorite character was the the one drug dude. I can't remember what he's the one that ends up digging his own grave, where you get the flash to them in
oh
the
right,
warehouse,
yeah,
and he's like talking, and then his like girlfriend or whatever comes in, and it's
yeah.
all of it
Oh,
is.
dude,
I don't know if
there are
you
so
wrote that.
many lines there.
Did you write any of the lines down? Because I should have, but I didn't, and it's just.
I wrote a few lines down as we went. Not from this scene. What one's from this scene? I like to drive.
Yeah, so, just all
Sorry.
yeah. Oh, so
I did heaps of recordings on my phone of
uh,
different moments, but it's
oh,
most of it's just me pissing myself laughing.
here we go. Here's an actual storyline. I went further down the IMDb page. Megan, a Buffalo police officer, suffers from PTSD, goes on a weekend camping trip with her partner Jeremy and his friends Blake and Gabriella. When Megan and Jeremy witness an execution by a rogue sheriff department, the quadrant finds itself hunted by different factions of an armed military. I said it wrong
Militia.
again. Militia.
Mhm.
So yeah, so they witness our little drug lord who is digging his own grave. That's what they witness, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, who's that in the bushes?" And then they run off, and then
No,
weirdly,
he fucking nearly kills a man with a rock. He like throws this hand-sized rock, like palm-sized rock at this guy. And later they're like, look what they did to Danny. You see him with like a little bandage on his head. Oh my
no,
god.
the best. Oh no, this whole of it's just a mess. So they're running back, and they're like, "No, we can't go that way because we don't want to lead them back to camp." So she takes her glasses off and throws it, and then the next scene they're back at camp. Like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't
Yep.
lead anyone anywhere. Like
No,
they
I know,
went.
right? Like we'll leave him to camp, and then you do. Like, yeah, I don't even know.
There's
Um,
there's a whole chase scene where they're chasing him. Like you said, there was a rock that got thrown, and
there's a rock multiple times. At the end, like later in my notes, I've written, this man fucking loves rocks. Like later, they kill a lot of guys with guns, and they could just take one of their guns. But later, we see him just again he yeets rocks at people.
yeah.
Like,
So they end up escaping from the rogue sheriff department. But my favorite part is when they call in the rest of the town, and the rest of the
mm-hmm,
town all come up to create teams, and they're
mm-hmm.
the most stereotypical group of
My
people.
God,
So there's like the hillbillies. There
yeah.
is a lesbian faction for whatever reason, and they make reference
Who
to it
like who
so
would like
often.
overly sexualized in the weirdest way. One of the women, um, like her character was meant to be like super sexual. She kept saying like innuendos and stuff, but it just came across like really gross and weird.
The whole thing was so odd. And then after we have an introduction of each of the factions, they do this
Hmm.
chart of like I can't even remember what the chart
Yes.
was,
Oh, I've got it on my
but
phone. I recorded it.
it did never got higher. Like no one got around it. Like the
Nah,
first chant to the last chant, there was no like enthusiasm whatsoever. If you got it there.
hold up. I do have it. I want to play
Yes.
it because it was real weird. There's this one man who kept yelling everything. Okay, hold on. How do you plan on explaining all this? We're never here. Cover our tracks. Then he yells, "What?" And then he yells, "Dead or alive?"
No, that's not coming through, man.
Oh, it's not coming through at all. Oh,
No,
damn.
that
Oh,
was
fuck,
just
that's lame.
uh,
They yell "Dead or alive." One guy's like "Dead or alive," and then the whole crowd's like "Dead or alive." Like they don't even chant, and then he's like screaming it, holding his gun in the air, and they're all just like "Dead or alive," hold the
do
gun
you,
in the air.
do you reckon that was planned or like I feel like it wasn't. I feel
None
like
of this was planned.
I think old mate
Don't
took
give them any credit.
nah, I reckon it was planned to the to just be shocking. Like and then there was that random walk off scene. They're like, we're gonna go this way, we're gonna go that way, and then they're walking down the same strip because that's the only way through like the field. It was like an aerial
It
shot
was,
of all
yeah,
of them walking.
and I couldn't even track who was with who because it was just shots in the woods with people followed by shots in the woods with different people, and I have no idea. Like there was no sense of direction or knowing how close or far away people were. Um, Jeremy, who we set up at the beginning as like one of the main characters, is the first to die in like a really dumb off-camera way, and then oh the fucking so they're on this camping trip. There's two cops and like a teacher and she was like a counselor. The other two characters. The teacher character at one point, because the other girl, the counselor character, who's the teacher character's fiance, wife, whatever she was meant to be, um, he at one point knows she's been captured. He picks up one of the guns that he, from someone they found or killed, or I don't remember. And his plan, because he's like, I have to go back, I have to try and save her. And the cop character's like, okay, good luck. Megan just leaves him and his plan is to run headlong, screaming toward 10 people with guns, yelling top of his lungs, randomly firing his gun in an open field. Like he kills one person, which must have been an amazing shot because he's so far away in the next shot. And then we see him literally screaming, running towards them, and they just unload bullets into him. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Is that really how you're gonna write this character?
Yeah.
So stupid.
I don't know. I think the when the helicopters come in and they've literally got
Oh man.
the most generic like wind blowing effect.
Yeah.
That's straight
And
off
the
of like YouTube.
CG, look, this movie so many times felt like I was grading a year 12 assignment or a year 11 assignment. This like presented better than, something a child would do, but it still didn't present better than what a teenager could do. Like the CG helicopter, don't even bother. Don't have a scene with a helicopter or just give us stock footage. Surely there's online you can find some free stock footage of a helicopter through trees. Just use that. Come on. That was really bad.
Oh, it was
Um,
hard to watch.
Some of my favorite lines, I want to rattle through some of them. Right at the beginning, I already a few of them from the start. I think towards the end of it, I was just too busy laughing and recording myself laughing that I forgot to write more stuff down. But one of the lines she says, talking about her gun, she's like, always ready, always there. And then the other character goes, what does that even mean? Like, yeah, we don't know. And then when Jeremy arrests him, he's like, you got the right to shut the hell up. Now let's get to step up. Let's get to step up. I wrote it verbatim because, like, what the fuck is that? Oh my god! When the scene of the robbery is happening in the corner store or whatever, the woman who turns around and goes, "Hurry the fuck up! Hurry the fuck up!" I rewound that and watched that so many times. She was just screaming her lines.
I like the old lady that she randomly finds in the cabin.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's just it was
she was
so
so
it was
bizarre.
bonkers. I
Yeah.
feel like they'd literally gone and found her randomly in
Mhm.
that actual cabin. I feel like it's her house.
It's an actual old woman in a house with a gun. Uh, the guy in the bar who was like, I guess he was you know, the guy who was serving them the drinks. He was the barman or whatever, owner. Who cares? Um, he had some like he was only in the show for like 2 minutes, but I wrote a few of his lines down already. Like he said something about keep a cannon under my bar, like some random line about keeping a cannon under his bar. And then later he says a line that even the subtitles weren't sure what he said. He said, I carded her myself, but he goes, I carded her myself. Like it was just like I carded her. It was like it wasn't even a line. So many of this movie was just characters like not knowing how to deliver their lines. There's one hillbilly guy who yells everything. Everything he says, he's screaming. And it's just, oh, I like to drive. The guy, you see a man air hump, like thrust, saying, I like to
Oh, that's
drive. Like, what does
right.
that even mean?
Oh,
Oh,
it was.
there's a moment where where Jeremy and Megan split up, and he turns to her and he's like, "Hey," and they look at each other, and he goes, "Be all you can be," and she like nods and walks away. Be all you can be. Uh, yeah, there was a lot of lines,
Oh,
a lot of
this
moments
it was a mess. This film was an absolute mess.
with a
But
weird religious message. There's a moment with the militia, they're about to go hunt them, and they all stop, and he goes, "Now bow your heads and pray." And the prayer felt like a real prayer, and they were like, "Amen," and the sign of the cross. Like it. There was this weird religious message in this.
yeah, right. This, this. Oh, what is old mate? What does the director have up his sleeve? Like, what's
Uh,
the quality of
Mostly it
work
looks
that
like
we?
shit.
He wrote it
Gregory
too.
Lamberson. Yep.
Yeah.
There's no writing in this at all.
Uh,
Um, there's a
was
moment where a character shows his phone to show that there's no service, and it's very obviously an image downloaded off of Google, and he's just got it on like the gallery. He
that's
turns his
right.
phone, and he's like, "No
Oh,
service."
that's right. The no signal. That was literally a photo of a no
Yeah,
signal.
yeah.
But
You can
he,
see the whole time. Sorry, really quickly. The girl who's like the counselor girl, she's wearing jeans. Every single shot from behind, you can see the sound pack in her jeans down the back. Like, there's no attempt to even make this competent in any way. Go on.
but he started directing in 1988. He's got Slime City, Underlying Love, Making Slime, Naked Fear, Gruesome, Slime City Massacre, Dry Bones, Gave Up
This
the
guy in
Ghost.
slime.
Hey,
Also, this guy in slime.
I don't know. Gave Up the
Keep going.
Ghost, Creepers, Killer Rack, where I'm interested to see if that's like soft porn or something, or like Johnny
Okay.
Gruesome, Widow's Point, Guns of Eden, the first annual Unbelievable Telethon.
Okay. What the fuck that is?
What
Yeah,
would
this
you?
dude had no idea what he was doing. How's he been making films since before I was born? And this is what he's churning out?
Okay,
Jesus.
so Killer Rack is a comedy about a woman suffering from low self-esteem who gets breast implant surgery, unaware that her surgeon worships H.P. Lovecraft's elder gods,
Oh
and
my
the surgery is
God.
part of a plot to rule the world. My God.
What the fuck? I need
I
to watch
was
that.
I was not expecting that to be
Jesus Christ. How does someone mash together breast implants and HP Lovecraft?
a
That is a
killer
mess.
a killer comedy with big eyes.
Jesus Christ. In this movie, there were
Wow.
times where they were showing the guns, and you could see that it was a plastic gun with like, you know how plastic guns have like lettering on the side? It was, you
Yeah.
could tell it had like made in China written on the side in plastic, but it was spray painted black.
Oh, this
Um,
Killer Rat came out in 2015. Sorry, I'm on a rabbit hole here.
no, no. I now want to see if I
Oh
can
my
watch Killer
God.
Rack anywhere online.
No, we oh my God. I'm looking at I'm looking at images.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's aliens, but instead of it coming out of her belly, it's coming out of her boobs.
Oh my God. Yeah, HP Lovecraft's like what do they call it? What's the word? Not interdimensional horror, but like inter forget. But yeah, yeah, it's that
Uh,
sort of alien stuff.
what? This is going to be on a
Not really
rotation
alien.
one of the
Okay.
weeks.
Next, we need to keep an eye on this guy because I need to see more of his content. This
Oh,
was
oh my
this
God!
was something else.
There's a picture of it looks like a lady being crushed to death by motorboating.
Right. Um, one thing I know why I wrote down was that like props to the cinematographer or director of photography, whoever they had. There were some moments that I'm like, that actually looks kind of nice. Like some of it was kind of decent looking, but then most of it was really shit. And I think that they just tried everything and just threw shit at the wall. And like the fact that some of it was half decent was like a complete accident.
Yeah, definitely. What
And
would you
then the
give it?
ending,
I don't think it felt like it never ended.
it never ended, and then it just ended. Like there was she kills them all, and then from memory she's just like standing there, and then it just ends. Like we don't even know if oh no, that's right. The sirens started back up. So the sirens, which were like the call to arms, bring everyone to come fight these people. She kills all those people, and we hear the siren go off, as in more people are coming, and then it just ends. Like we don't know if not that I care by any means, but you give me an hour and a half film, I got to care a little bit, right? We don't know if she survives. We don't know if she gets out, if she escapes, she kills more people. Like it just ends. It almost ends in the middle of a plot point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, what I give it? Look, this was 100% a movie that I would say it's so bad it's good. You you watch this with some drinks, some friends. Um, you go into this expecting a shit movie that you're gonna be laughing at. Like within the first few minutes, I was so ready for the rest of this, and it took me 2.5 hours to watch this because I had my fingers on the arrow keys the entire time, and I'm constantly like rewinding and watching things. This was such a fun movie. I had more fun with this than I did with John Wick, and than I had with D&D. This was, in terms of fun factor, this was a fucking five. I want to watch this with a lot of my friends. I want to watch this with people. I want to laugh at this more, write down more of the lines. I want this to be a reference that I refer to in future. Um, this was such a fun ride, but it's a fucking horrible movie in every way. It's like less than half a star. It's so bad, but so bad that it's good. Like not even like there are some movies that are so bad they're good, but they have like moments that are really boring. You have to like grind through. This I laughed every single scene.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a five. It's a fucking five.
Oh, it's it's unintentionally absolutely hilarious. Like
Yeah,
it's shocking, and it's it's half a star, but
yeah.
I do agree that it would be very fun to watch. It's like watching Birdemic. Like if you've seen
Yes.
Birdemic, it's just one of those films where I don't know if the guy thinks his work's good or he's just like
He does.
he actually
He
does.
definitely did. He thought he was creating a masterpiece. He was like writing to film festivals like fucking Cannes Film Festival and some of the biggest film festivals in the world, saying like, why is my movie making it in? And he was like, people are boycotting me. No one's ready for this story. Like he was so wrapped
Okay.
up in how good he was.
All right, that makes it easily a 4. Easily.
I'm
Just
talking about, sorry, not this.
uh
I'm talking about Birdemic. Sorry
Birdemic. I mean,
that you did all that. This I
uh
don't know about.
yeah, I don't know if he's in the same sort of vein as old mate. Like that's good that you're your biggest fan, but you gotta realize it's not good. So I don't know, we'll see. But
Yeah,
next
this is
week
trash.
we are bringing you some more interesting. It's a bit of a mix up for next week. We've got
Mm.
Champions, which is the new sporting. I guess it's kind of more of a feel good Woody Harrelson film.
Ah,
I like Woody Harrelson. I think he's
I'm kind of nervous about this. Reminds me of what was that Johnny Knoxville movie where he goes into
goes in the
the
Special Olympics.
Special Olympics?
Yeah.
This looks like kind of not okay
Okay.
in the way, like the trailers I saw. I'm like, oh man, I'm not sure I want to cover this. When I watched, I forgot when you said Champions. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I haven't heard of that. And then I went and looked at the thumbnail. So oh, yeah, I watched the trailer for this a while ago.
All right.
Yeah, it looks kind of
Okay.
risky.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. We'll
Yeah,
see how it goes.
we'll see.
What was Johnny Knoxville in? He was
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
no,
League of Their Own. No, League of Their Own was something else.
that's writer. What was it? Actor. I want actor. I don't like IMDb's new format. It annoys me. Um,
I haven't really noticed.
well, yeah.
I can't remember what it's
Wow.
called.
Wow,
I'll look it up.
he's
Johnny
been
Knoxville.
he's been in a heap of stuff, eh?
The Ringer. It was called.
The Ringer, that's the one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was actually quite a very, very funny film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But yeah, so we've got Champions, we've got the new Tetris film,
Yep.
and
Keen.
Digman, which is the new animation by Andy. What's his
Andy
name?
Samberg.
That's the one. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Looks funny as.
cool. Bit of a fun field adventure for you. Hopefully the
Yeah.
blocks will fall in place and it'll be
Oh
really good.
god.
See, it's already started.
Yeah,
Line it
Tetris
up.
looks fun. They've been pumping it on. I watch a lot of Twitch, and all my Twitch ads recently have been like Tetris or Destiny 2 Lightfall.
Oh, of course. But,
It looks really fun.
and well, what's his name? Taron. Is it Taron Egerton?
Yeah.
The
Yep.
actor, yep. He
Yep.
was
I like him.
absolutely incredible in Blackbird. Like, if you have not seen Blackbird, I highly recommend it. It's only a 6-episode miniseries, but it's based on the true story about the serial killer and how he had to go to jail and he got a
Okay.
FBI deal to befriend the serial killer to find Larry to find out where all the bodies were. Absolutely incredible, and they
Okay. I haven't seen that.
did an incredible job with it as well. Highly recommended.
Sure. Cool.
Yep. Yeah, check that out. But yeah, he impressed me in that, and I did like him also in The Kingsman. So
Mhm.
he's got a good track record.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He impresses me for sure.
Yep, cool. And yeah, all we ask you to do is make sure if you're listening it to on on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, helps the algorithm. Hit the big thumbs up because that definitely boosts the algorithm.
Mhm.
And on Spotify, everything else, just put it. If you want to tag us in social media as well, I'm more than happy to share that out. Just hit that Ryman TV and put it in the show notes, share it with your friends, and we will see you guys next time.
You. Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Love
Bye.
yous.